Good morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome into the Warchant.com happy hour. I'm Aslan Hajavani, joined by founder and administrator of Warchant.com, top right corner of the screen, Gene Williams, a.k.a. .com, managing editor Ira Schofel, lower left corner, and recruiting analyst Michael Langston, lower right corner. Promo code, scrolling at the bottom of your screen, Warchant30. Use it. Get onto that premium recruiting board. Catch up with everything that's going on in the portal, everything that's going on with Ira looking at the roster and how things have changed in the year that Mike Norvell has been on the job. Plenty of stuff going on over at the Ultimate Symbol Sports Source. Hoops coverage as well. Gentlemen, good afternoon, evening to you all. I'm drinking water on the happy hour per usual, keeping it really exciting. How are you, Gene? I haven't seen your face in a while. It's good to see you. You got your full playoff beard mode. I love it.
Thank you, man. I am riding high over here where everything's good in the Man Cave headquarters, and looking forward to, hopefully another transfer too, and Michael can bring in a, maybe a defensive tackle and a wide receiver in the class, and that closes up here in a couple of weeks, and it'll all be good.
Fantastic. Ira, did you beat Corey in rock, paper, scissors to get the privilege of being with us here today? That's awesome.
Of course. Yeah. He won the first one, but I said, no, we're going 2 out of 3.
Okay.
And so I won the next 2. So that's why I'm here.
And Michael, how's the portal looking, man?
It's not as heavy as it was before, because there's not a lot of spots left. But I feel kind of alone here because I'm the only one that shaves apparently. So everyone else has got facial hair. Maybe I need to grow a beard or something.
Michael, that's why you got to check your email. We sent the memo out the other day. Be on the show. I guess Corey didn't get it either.
All right, then let's get to the phone lines. They are up and running right now, 850-805-5911. Was there any news of the day that I missed while I was out of pocket working out, trying to get all swole over here, Ira? There's been quiet at the shop today.
No, man, it's a little bit quiet today. We did have one thing that I'll have more on coming up this evening. I don't know if you guys saw, but a guy, writer for Fox Sports, put out an early top 25 and had the Noles at number 25 in the top 25 list in a for 2021. He's bullish on the transfers, and anyway, he's talked to him earlier today. They put that out earlier, I guess last night, and so I talked to him earlier. I'm going to have him explain himself. I'm going to call him on the carpet, explain how you have FSU in the top 25 of 2021, and we'll see what he has to say. So I'll have that up later this evening.
I don't want to catch you or Gene off guard. I should have asked you this before we went live in front of hundreds, thousands of Florida State fans. Michael Alford, new CEO of Seminole Boosters, tweeted out a little emoji, hieroglyphics, construction emojis. Do we know what that might portend to or hints at? I drove around campus all day. I didn't see any shovels or any steamrollers, so I don't know what they're exactly doing.
I don't know, Ira, you're the master converting those hieroglyphics on Twitter, right? You know what all that stuff means? Uh-oh.
I definitely can imagine. You hear me?
No. The internet's not being kind to you thus far, Ira. You're kind of picking up on us every now and then. I'll pull it up on the screen here to show folks what I was talking about. Again, Michael Alford, new head man of Seminole Boosters. The eyes looking emoji, that's a big deal. Eyes looking emoji, big deal. And then it looks like construction barriers, maybe a cement truck, I don't know, moving truck, and then the shish kebab, the spear. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume he's drumming up excitement. They're obviously, as we've talked about before and we've written before, that they are moving forward with that project. I mean, they are going to have a football-only facility at some point, whether or not it's separate completely from the Moore Center or attached to the Moore Center will still to be determined. But I think, he's probably just letting people know they're making progress along those lines and just trying to get some excitement, get a little buzz going. But I don't think anything's imminent. As you said, it's not like they're breaking ground right now.
All right, very well. All right, then let's get to the phone lines. If you've been keeping up with how this works, we usually go to Virginia Beach, Virginia, right off the top of the show. Let's keep that streak going. Gator Kirk joining us. Gator Kirk, how are you, man? Good evening to you.
I'm good. Happy hour. Let's go. Let's go.
That's right, man.
Gator Kirk is fired up.
On Thursday.
Gator Kirk believes in that they're top 25 caliber, Ira. He's feeling the energy.
I don't know. I'm not so sure I'd go that far. I'd at least if we can get through a full spring and have a spring game and develop, it may be a possibility. But based on our schedule, I think 7 is going to be a really good ceiling next year for wins. But
Practical.
Good. Yeah. Well, last year I was over exuberant and my dreams were crushed. So, here's my question for y'all. Hope y'all are doing well. Sorry about your eardrums again.
No.
Does a recruit really care what our ranking is for recruiting, either the year before or the year that they're looking to sign? Do they care if we're 30th or 12th or 10th? I mean, does it matter to them? Has anyone ever asked them?
I think that's probably a Michael
Michael,
question.
what do you think there, man?
I think going into the season, I mean, kids want to be with other good players. I think that's really the way they look at it. I don't think they look at I think from a buzz standpoint, fans think that the recruits automatically just, care about the top 10, but they know how good each one of them is. And as long as it's a solid player, I don't think they really care, just with a ranking. I think buzzworthy wise, they like it, but I don't think it's a necessity of why they choose a school or they don't choose a school. I think it's more what they're seeing as far as the excitement, the vision of the program. I think ever since Mackenzie Milton has jumped on board, the momentum has been nonstop, consistent, and a good vibe for a lot of FSU prospects, even kids in 2022. And I think it also helps when you have a 5-star like Travis Hunter in the 2022 class. That's going to be one of the best players in the country, if not the number one player in the country. I think that's a major thing as far as what recruits look at. Is like, hey, this kid's going there. He's a 5-star. Maybe I need to definitely take a stronger look at FSU. And there's already seeing the buzz of excitement. Like I said, when you get an elite quarterback, assuming he's going to be healthy, that really just changes everything with your dynamics, your program. So I don't think kids really certainly just look at recruiting rankings and say, oh, I'm going to the school because they're so-and-so. And a lot of kids are just not egotistical, but just kind of like they think so highly of their talent that they could be the missing pieces. So a lot of times it works better in your advantage if you're in around the 20 mark or the 20s, that they think they can be the class that really just turns around everything. So a lot of times it's just about the fit and the comfort level and where they envision this class going, or this program going. And I think when you look at FSU, what they've done in the transfer market, what they've done with some high school kids, and what they've done at certain positions, I think their excitement is the highest I can remember it being since Norvell's been here.
I do think there is just a slight exception to that. I think is when we've seen it in the past when Florida State has a top 5 class and there's a lot of momentum. So you may get kids that want to take part in that class. If you get a bunch of 5-stars coming in, especially if you got one that's a bell cow, that's a kind of gregarious going guy that can really get out there and lead kids, there's a momentum effect involved in that. But yeah, other than that, I don't think it really, I think Michael kind of detailed really generally what of an impact a ranking has, if any, on a recruiting class.
There you go, Gator Kirk. Simple enough, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate everything y'all do. Great coverage. As always, make sure y'all support Zaxby's. Hit that thumbs up. Join Warchant. You're missing a lot of content if you're not on it. Go Noles. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Gator Kirk. Checks in the mail, buddy. Our marketing director of Warchant.com, Gator Kirk.
Right, the mayor of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's keep the show rolling. Let's come back down to Sunshine State, central part of the state. Let's go to Wes in the Villages. He wants to talk about this upcoming season. I think he might even want a prediction or two. Wes, good evening to you. How are you, man?
Good evening, fellas. How are you?
Can't
Doing
complain.
Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Happy hour. Happy hour got started early. I like it. I call it Friday Eve, so nothing wrong. I'm going to join you guys as well.
There we go.
Got in from work.
Nice.
But so now that the season is officially over, and I know it's way too early, but with all the excitement in the portal, and like you guys had talked, I think in yesterday's show, Aslan, you and Corey, about something about, I don't know, around 8,000 snaps of production just through these, 8-9 guys in the portal. And so I thought, just for fun, not getting ahead of ourselves, but being, cautiously optimistic, especially with Milton in there, at the quarterback position. If any, you guys would do a season prediction of win losses, and see what you thought.
Ira, come on, do it.
I mean, look, it's always hard to do because we don't know how the games are going to lay out, and we don't know, exactly. There's so many variables there, but I mean, I would say if you're looking at the teams they have to play with what they've got coming back, I think 6-7 wins is reasonable. I think it would have to be a huge year for them to win eight games or more, with some of the limitations they have and the schedule they have to play. I mean, it's hard to predict right now that they're going to beat Notre Dame, that they're going to beat Florida, based on where Florida has been. I know Florida loses a lot, but I think Dan Mullen's shown he's got an ability to put together a really good offense. I think their defense, you would think, will be a little bit better next year. So, Clemson's obviously not going to be a game you'd project to win. So, I think if Florida State gets to 7 wins, I think that. So what I would predict is probably, I'll go on a limb and say 7-5, because I do think they're going to be a lot better. But it would be hard to predict more than that.
All right, they're a top 25 team. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Raining on our parade already.
See.
I think it's safe to say, and not a hot take, that they're going to be better. I mean, it's hard to imagine with this coaching staff having a full year to get in the weight room, spring practice, everything else, that they'll be able to implement what they want to do. And then obviously we've seen the transfer portal has been very kind to Florida State, especially Mackenzie Milton is just, a high percentage of what he was at UCF health-wise. I mean, it's going to be a huge upgrade at that position, assuming he wins the job. So I might be a little bit more bullish. That schedule is kind of difficult. I can see where Miami got to 8 wins, being as bad as Florida State was, and that was just because of a couple key transfers. So I'm going to go with 8. I think 8 wins is not out of the question. Some things could fall in place for Florida State. So yeah, I think I really am putting a little bit more faith in this coaching staff. I do think they have the right guys, and they just need that full year to get their system in place, and they'll have that. Let's pray they will have that system in place this year.
What about you, Michael? What's your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we pointed out, and I pointed out this several times, of what they've done in the transfer portal, and a lot depends on, Gene alluded to the health of the guys that they've added, like Mackenzie Milton. If Mackenzie Milton is healthy, sounds like everything I've heard so far is it's going pretty positive as far as what he's doing. He's a really good culture guy in that locker room, so your locker room is going to be a lot different. And I think and I think too, the other thing to the caller is, we're still waiting on a few more pieces. If you get that offensive tackle transfer and you get a defensive end to go along with Jermaine Johnson, to me, I think it's an 8-win team. And I think outside possibility of getting 9 wins. Woo! Because the reason I say that is because I'm really sold on the coaching staff. 2, I know the culture is going to be much better this year. I know the schedule is daunting and what they have, but when you add those pieces where you have pass rushers, you already signed a boatload of DBs, which we know the back end has been a major problem for FSU. So if you get an improvement there, you're not expecting a drastic jump, but if you get an improvement there, and then you get Mackenzie Milton, elite quarterback, playing an elite level, or even close to what he was doing, you're gonna be competitive with all these teams. I think if you get those 2 additions, you're ready to compete with all these teams. I'm not saying you're going to win. You're going to lose a lot of these games, like I would point out with Clemson, even Notre Dame, those teams that you should lose to. But I think it gives you a competitive chance to maybe pull an upset that people maybe didn't think you were going to do. But I think 8 wins is where the mark I'd have, and an outside possibility of 9 if something falls your way.
That sounds so good.
Do we hear 10, Aslan?
I mean,
no.
I should, because look at Shane Kirkley, man. Look at Kirk Noles off the top rope.
You're welcome, Gene. $100 right there.
We're going to beat Notre Dame. He said we're going to beat Notre Dame. I love it. Let's go, man. I'm honestly, I was chugging along with Gene and Michael. I'm like, yeah, man, we can do this. 8 new guys. That can change the outcome of a lot of games. But I think I'm probably closer to Ira. I think 7-5 should make everybody happy. We say that now in January, but then when you play it out and you You lose those games, you see how they play out. You might not feel as good, but Corey said on the show, Wes, that you were mentioning on your call, they got 12 games. Notre Dame, Florida, Clemson just don't feel all that promising right now. So that's 9 other games that you're working with that are maybe coin flippish. To think that they'd win like 8 out of those 9, one of them being Miami, a little too optimistic for me right now. But to Michael's point, maybe if they do get another pass rusher or another offensive tackle, it would change. But I'll say closer to Ira with 7-5. What about you though, Kirk? I'm sorry, Kirk Knowles posting here. What about you, Wes? What's your prediction right now? January 14th.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of split with everybody. It's at 7 to 8. I mean, if I was nailed down and you told me to pick, I'm going to be the positive guy and go 8-4 if I had to say, because with the roster flip and these transfers, and then the staff if they get the full off season, and I just believe there's more buy-in, and there's these and as far as the games, whether it's 7 wins or 8 wins, they're going to be competitive in some of these other games instead of get it blown off the field. And I think that's going to be huge as well.
Yeah, man. Put some stress on these other teams. See if they can win a close game instead of running away with it early on. So I like where your head's at, Wes.
Right. Hey, I had one other thing for Ira, because I haven't spoke with Ira on the show. It's always Corey and Aslan when I call him. But absolutely. Ira, at the beginning of the season, you may not remember, but I called in, and it was the first happy hour show before the game against Georgia Tech. And I asked I think it was everybody. I think Michael was off and Corey was on. But I said, who do you think is going to throw the first or get the first touchdown of the game for the Mike Norvell season? We all made our pick, and you said Keyshawn Helton would get the first touchdown pass, and so you were the winner. Sorry, it took 5 months to finally talk to you to tell you.
Was that his one and only touchdown?
I was the winner, and when it happened, I was like, "Yeah, man, I nailed it." And then Keyshawn, I think, had one more touchdown the rest of the year.
Oh, yeah, 2. Okay.
So it wasn't quite the season, no, but I do remember that.
Hey, man.
Yeah, it was a prediction. You called it, so I just want to give you credit. I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, man.
I totally forgot about that. Thanks for reminding us, Wes. That just goes to prove it, man. Ira knows what he's talking about.
We need that to go to Ira's head, Wes. Don't do that.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Hey, you got to spread the love around. I got to tell Gene, great job for what you do, and Michael on the recruiting. I did have one thing for Michael real quick. I wanted to say, I know Travis Hunter is locked in. I think the guy is, I saw what he said about the Clemson offer. Do you feel pretty confident at this point that it's one more defensive lineman transfer, an offensive tackle, maybe Destyn Hill, and one other high school kid? Is that what you're kind of feeling for the final few spots?
Yeah, I think you have 3 spots, and then a potential possibility for a 4th. We'll get into that when we can, as far as that. But yeah, I think the preference is one offensive tackle, likely from the grad transfer market, and then either a defensive end or Ty Malone, and then obviously wide receiver, more than likely Destyn Hill. Things still look really good there from what I've heard, and so I think that's kind of what you're looking at as far as those spots. And then if there is a 4th option, we'll just have to address that at that point. But I think 3 is probably what I'm looking at, and then say offensive tackle, either defensive end from the transfer market or Malone, and then Hill. That would be my picks as far as how they finish the class.
And you believe Travis Hunter, he's staying no matter what. There's no chance.
Only way I can see him even remotely opening up is if Marcus Woodson left. Marcus seems very locked into FSU. And the thing with Travis is kind of like Derwin James, where he grew up really liking FSU, loves FSU. FSU was on him before he really just blew up. So FSU went after him before he really came this bona fide, incredible 5-star prospect, and the relationships were built there. He visited FSU. He likes it. He's got an invested interest as far as loving FSU generally. This isn't like Sam Howell or Luke Altmaier who they won over with different coaching staffs or guys like that. This is a guy that is invested into loving FSU, but also just happens to have a coach and a DB coach that he really connects with in Marcus Woodson. So I think it's going to take something like a coaching change or something to even change his mind. I don't think any school can change his mind as far as going to FSU. I think it's going to have to say it's going to have to be a self-inflicted thing for FSU not to land that kid and get him signed FSU.
All right, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
Yeah, one last thing. This is for Gene. So don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe to Warchant, eat your Zaxby's, and go Noles. Have a good evening, fellas.
That's right. Appreciate you, Wes.
Thank you, Wes. Yeah, right under Michael there. Hit that thumbs up button. That helps us get this out there. And a lot of people. Hey, one other thing. I know we got calls and a lot of other super chats. We want to recognize these people. And we're so far away from this. But Shane, thank you so much again. There's been so much negativity. What's the record? How many season openers have we lost in a row? Florida State lost in a row.
Aslan's got it right there. Going back
18, 19, and 20. 4 in a row.
17 too. That's Alabama.
Yeah, that's the fourth.
Yeah, 4. So my point is, Florida State fans have just been beat to a pulp at the start every season. Imagine starting this season with McKenzie Milton, the excitement, and if they were to knock off Notre Dame at home in front of what could be a packed Doak Campbell Stadium, crossing our fingers. What would that, just real quick, Ira, what do you think that would do to the mentality of the players, recruits, the fan base to be able to start out a season after so much 4 straight years of just being pummeled and having that start?
Yeah, people in the athletics department are already talking about it. That is something that they're kind of circling as, the best case scenario. Even if you just play a great game, again, people in the athletics department are already figuring out how many starters Notre Dame is losing after last season.
And they're losing a lot.
They're losing, I think, like 16 starters or something like that. Yeah. So it's not out of the question. And the fact that it would be here, it would be huge if we're at a place where we could get 60, 70, 80,000 people in that stadium, because that would certainly help the cause.
Yeah, and you're playing them the first game of the year too. That's the other dynamic. They're going to have a new team. FSU's going to have a new team. To me, you go into that game and you have all this emotion. You could possibly, if everything bounces the right way or your kids play good, and it goes both sides. FSU has a new team. They're going to have a new team. But I think, that generally would generate a massive amount of, not just in the football facility, but that would be a massive jolt for their recruiting, because that would tell kids like, hey, they're winning now. That's a place I got to get on board with. Or even Ira's point, if they play really good, that's going to have a general effect as far as that. So the effect for FSU, obviously winning that game will be massive.
Remember how excited everybody was after they beat North Carolina? Multiply that, right? By like 3 if they were to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Shout out again, Shane Kirkley, Kirk Knoll. Appreciate you, man. You get plug your ears, everybody. If you don't like the air horn, you get
Great cash, homie.
Appreciate you, Kirk Knoll. He's a good dude. He's on the warchant.com message boards. And 7 Toms throws $20 our way, tells us to go buy some beers. I shall oblige.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Thank you, 7 Toms. 2 M's. Appreciate you. We do have callers, but we also have Matt AMCZ coming up.
Oh, my.
Let's go, Mark.
I knew there was a reason we had Gene on. There you go. Here we go.
Just raking it in, baby. Thank you, Mark.
We appreciate it.
Gene, the boss in the house. Gene, Wake Up Warchant is taking off. How do I apply for an internship? Go Noles.
You keep doing that, Mark. We'll have you as an intern. Just you email Ira, who will set you up. We'll find a spot.
You can take the big chair. Eric Johnson says 9-3, coming in from Phoenix, Arizona.
Like it.
All right, we can get behind that. That sounds good. I like 9-3. That sounds really good. All right, let's hop back into the caller queue. Again, Mark, hey, man, thank you so much.
Yep.
No matter if it's a recruiting chat with Michael or Wake Up Warchant or the happy hour stuff, you're always here, and then you're always posting on the boards, always positive. Shane, thank you. 7 Toms, thank you. We'll leave Mark up here for a minute or two. We'll get back to the phone lines. Oh, here's a fan favorite. Let's go over to the East Coast, Daytona Beach, Florida. A man by the name of Jay. Jay, what's good?
Happy hour back by popular demand.
That's right.
Yes, you asked for it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for bringing that back. Kind of piggybacking off of a few days ago where we were talking about fit over fashion. With the transfer portal, if you guys look at the transfer portal, it's like, again, I think, if you look at the DBs we lost, if you count Woodby, we lost 5 DBs. So they had to get at least 3 guys And I know a lot of people talk about we have this guy, that guy, this guy, but just for the sake of depth purposes, you got to get bodies in there. So, and like any college program, I think it's about fit. Like, for example, Wood be left, but I think he's a great fit for what Boston College does. So I'm saying that to say, as far as the last couple of spots, I think that offensive tackle spot and that receiver spot is where they're looking. And I think they'll be much more selective, because for any fan out there that's like wondering what they're doing, if you look at the offensive tackles that are available, there really aren't any good ones available. So I think they're just, communicating with the guys that will fit their system and waiting for them to come available. And then I think they'll make a move, a little bit later on, or when they guys become available. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Jay, that's a good, appreciate the call. There's a lot of points to that. I think you're right about the receiver. I think the point people look at is like, you have to get another transfer receiver. But I think with Destyn Hill, they look good. You get it. That guy would be an impact guy his freshman year. He's that kind of kid. You have him for 3 or 4 years. So I think receiver-wise, that would set you really good, where you have Malik McLean, Andrew Parchment, and Destyn Hill as guys that can come in there, I think, and immediately have some kind of impact. Not starting, but at least with Parchment, he's probably starting. But I think the other ones, they can go on there and make an impact. And I think with the DBs, I think, and I kind of pointed out, to watch out for Brandon Moore, because, right when he hit the portal, I made sure I mentioned him, because I've been hearing rumblings about him for 3 weeks. And I think the thing is like, you look at their corners and their back end has just been awful this year. So if you got to take as many as you got to take, or that you can fit in, you've got to do it. And you look at their stats from last year, as far as, I guess, the PFF grade for the corners, it was just atrocious when you look at it. So adding to your value of what you have in defensive secondary was a massive thing. I think offensive tackle, I think the guy that everyone mentions is former Tennessee offensive lineman Wanya Morris. FSU was heavily involved there early on. Went through his recruitment. He's a guy that is a possible guy. I think I look at the offensive tackle position with the one guy they're looking for. I look at it like the running back spot, where I think they're waiting on one guy. Wanya might not be that guy, because we're not hearing a lot of buzz just yet on him, but I think they're waiting on this one tackle or two tackles that they know is likely going the portal. And then kind of the running back position, like when DJ Williams came out, they jumped on immediately. Bam, that thing was over in like a day or two. So I think that's what they're kind of looking for. And then if you add another defensive lineman, whether that's Tywone Malone or a defensive end, I think that would solidify your final spots. But I see a lot of people that complain about how many DBs they take, but my thing is, have you watched FSU's corners the last few years? It's been really bad. So I think this is kind of a message to their secondary, like, look, we need help. What we're having so far is not working. We need to develop these guys, but at the same time, we got a chance to get guys that are top flight corners that can really help our boundary and help Fuller run what he wants to run. If you go back to his days at Memphis, big thing with Fuller is forcing turnovers. Well, he couldn't put his kids on the island too much this year with what they wanted to run. And now he's got all the pieces, so it's up to Fuller to do the job. And now he's got all the ingredients to make whatever meal you want to make. But I think you have to add the right fits to the culture of the program. I think they do a lot of study on that. I've talked to some people that know what's going on behind the scenes, and they told me they do a lot of study on these guys of who fits their culture, but also who fits kind of what you're looking for. I think DJ Williams is a perfect example of that. You lost LaDainian Webb, so you're looking for a guy who can get like 8-10 carries, but also can do the same things that what LaDainian Webb was. So you're not looking for a for sure 5-star, but you're looking for a guy that complements the other guys. And that's what they did a good job of really measuring each pick that they've made in the portal.
And hey, Jay, I'm glad you brought up the attrition that Florida State's had at defensive back, including obviously losing Asante, the best player on that side of the ball. And because I've seen some people kind of grousing about, why are you bringing in 3 transfers at defensive back? I don't think a lot of people look at the numbers and realize they had a desperate need at that position. But I'm curious one thing, and Michael brought this up, and obviously the numbers are running very thin here. What is the priority? If the numbers are down, you got a possibility, let's say, an elite defensive end, elite wide receiver, an elite offensive tackle. What do you think? I just throw it out to the panel, throw it out to you, Jay. because I know you're the transfer portal guru. Who would you take out of that three? What do you think is most important for this team in 2021?
Jay?
Well, I mean,
pick one. Come on, you can do it, Jay. Say it with your chest.
It has to be offensive tackle, but to piggyback off Michael's point about culture, at this stage in the process of decline, it's not so much about what our record is going to be next year. It's about being more competitive. And I think that's the direction that the coaching staff want to go. They want to get guys that are going to be highly competitive, and then the record will start taking care of itself.
Defensive line. That's the answer, Jay.
I think the answer is all of the above. I mean, I think they're going to try to get 3 more, and those are the spots they try to get. And I think they're going to get an offensive tackle. I mean, the as Michael said and as Jay you pointed out, and I think everybody knows, they're trying to be as selective as possible at that position. But at some point, if they can't get whoever it is that they want, they're going to have to get the next best available. I just don't think they want to make that move until they have to. So they will get an offensive tackle, and I'm very confident they'll get a receiver. You'd like to think it's going to be Destyn Hill. I think the defensive position, if I had to guess, I think I go opposite of Aslan. I think a defensive position is more of the luxury than those two positions. I really, and as I know you feel like receiver is not that important if you've got a good quarterback. I would disagree with you. I just feel like the difference between an average receiver and a good receiver is those 7-yard passes become 15-yard passes. The 12-yard passes become 25-yard passes. I just think it's a bigger deal than you give it. I think you think that a good quarterback is going to complete the pass, which I agree with you, but that guy has to turn that average play, I think, into a bigger play. So I think they need another talented wide receiver as well.
I think your quarterback will also put on the spot a little bit better. Let your guy get upfield, maybe make those plays happen. But I hear what you're saying. It wouldn't hurt to get another wide receiver. I think that offensive tackle to me is somewhat. I don't want to say luxury. If they got if they were able to get that Ezzy kid from Memphis, I don't know what is the off the field stuff that probably created some sort of second guessing from Mike Norvell because he did recruit him. But that kind of guy that you just was covered in green and blue when it came to Pro Football Focus. I mean, that would give you another stalwart offensive tackle, and you either put Robert Scott or Devontae Love-Taylor, and then you move one of those guys on the inside. That would have been game-changing. But if you're just going to get another dude, depth body-wise, it's kind of on Darius Washington's level, then I don't really see as much value as a disruptive defensive end again or somebody on the interior of the line. But
I agree. I think if they get somebody they want at offensive tackle that can start, if they can get a starting left tackle in the portal, then yeah, man, I just think that's the number one thing because now it takes your offensive line to another level.
It does.
I don't know if a defensive guy is going to do that.
So DeMarcus Walker comes to Florida State. How big a difference does that make?
Well, if DeMarcus Walker shows up in the portal, then we'll talk.
I just hope there's a good left tackle out there, but we've seen the portal, and Jay said it, man. There's not a lot of good offensive lineman period in the portal.
But isn't assuming the NCAA goes through with the one-time transfer rule, after spring practice, isn't somebody going to get pissed somewhere and want to transfer? I mean, we've seen the transfer rule has blown up more than I think any of us even imagine. What's it going to be like between spring practice and when fall practices begin? That thing's going to blow up again, isn't it? And there's bound to be an offensive tackle and a defensive end in there.
Yeah, I think people just.
Well, what about culture and fit? We want to take guys that are mad at their current school because they didn't get a fair shot or they couldn't hack it there. I mean, aren't we kind of be in the Hornibrook sort of situation if we wait for guys after spring depth charts come out?
Not when it comes to tackles.
Miami would disagree with you with King.
Yeah, not when it comes to offensive linemen. Yeah, maybe with somebody that's disgruntled or something like that. But Gene's points are exactly right. I think everyone thinks that the portal is over. Now these last few weeks are over, but this thing lasts till the summer. So you're going to have some guys that come in the summer, some guys that come in the spring. You're going to have spring battles where a guy doesn't win the spring battle and he thinks he can play there. Maybe he didn't win the job. Maybe he was the best guy and he didn't win. And he gets disgruntled and he goes in there and he has a place like FSU where he knows he can start. He's a top-notch offensive tackle that can certainly help your team. So I think I think people's misconception is that this portal thing is over for the season, and it's not. There's a lot to still be left. There's going to be a lot of guys that jump in the portal late spring, mid spring, and then in FSU only has one spot to take. So I think it's going to be some attraction for some offensive tackles, even more defensive ends out there. And I think a perfect scenario, you would take Tywon Malone, you would take Hill, and you would take an offensive tackle. You'd feel pretty damn good about that.
Right.
But that's a perfect scenario. But I get the sense that, probably defensive end is what's going to happen just with Malone. It feels like it's a battle, but at the same time, it's probably going to swing that way. So I think either way, FSU is going to be able to fill most, if not all, their needs, from what they're looking for from the portal.
All right, Jay, anything else on your way out?
Go Noles.
There we go, man. I like it, man. Appreciate the call, Jay. Jay from Daytona Beach joining us as usually here on the program. Hector Cartagena asked this a little bit earlier. He's got a solid avatar. What is the latest on is it Wanya Morris, offensive tackle portal transfer Tennessee? Happy New Year, gentlemen. Here are his grades. By the way, though, Hector, $20, man, that gets you some love.
Thanks, Hector.
Hector.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Overweight, Deshaun Watson avatar having guy. Get these banners out of the way so you can see Ira's face. Yeah, what about Wanya, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, Wanya last year wasn't as productive as this previous year. I think he was dealing with a lot of nagging injury.
No, he did better. No,
okay.
He did better. He improved.
Okay.
Don't make me pull up 19. I pull up 19. Juwan Williams starts feeling good about himself.
Okay. Well, the thing with Wanya, I hear Oklahoma's very involved. I think Texas is another school. I think there's a few others, Arkansas. I think FSU, I get the sense that FSU has communicated some or at least a little bit with him. I don't get the sense that there's just a 100% push yet, or at least I haven't heard. So things are kind of quiet on that mode. I think a lot of people thought he would ultimately, right when he hit the portal, he would go to Oklahoma. I think that was the team that everyone circled, but now it's kind of like he's kind of taking calls from everyone. He's kind of, taking it. It's a slower process than I guess most people thought. He's from Logosville, Georgia. We know Alex Atkins is very good in the Atlanta area. So that's a guy that it's certainly, if Atkins wants, there's going to be some kind of relationship there. So I think it's really just about, how hard FSU pushes, and then we can really start addressing once we feel there's a major push there all the way. But like I said, you got to check everything that this guy fits everything that what you're looking for from a culture standpoint. Why he's leaving the school he's leaving in Tennessee. Obviously, they're going through a lot of issues there at Tennessee with Pruitt, but still, you need to see what the reasons are, the fits to your program. And if this guy can really help you coming in right away. On paper, it looks like that's an easy yes answer, but the coaches have to kick the tires and make sure they check out everything when it comes to this kid. And sometimes that takes a while to do, but I'm sure this is a kid that they've had circled that they're certainly going to talk to and at least kick the tires on and see where it goes from there.
All right, very well. Good stuff, Michael. You think this is some sort of like I'm giving everybody another victory lap because they tipped us $100. So man, we're gonna keep putting your name on the screen. But Shane, Kirk Noles, a madman. He's coming back with $100 more. That's your problem. I love
it. Cash money.
Shane Kirkley, Kirk Noles on Warchant.com's Tribal Council. All right, since we have the whole crew minus Corey, let's talk about Warchant swag. Getting cold in Texas. Needs some new hoodies. He asked for this on Tuesday, Gene.
Don't have hoodies, but we could probably set you up with something if you want to email myself or Aslan. We'll get you something. Definitely, you've earned that, Kirk.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do, man. We appreciate it, Shane. You the man. I'm not gonna rank you because it's like ranking all my children when I talk about all you generous folks. Watch the show, support us. We really do appreciate it.
If Gene wants to invest in some Wake Up Warchant or Warchant hoodies, none of us are going to be mad at him.
So the staff is pushing for some Warchant hoodies, huh?
Just saying, if that happens,
all right. I may have to do that now that Shane has kind of got the ball rolling here. I may have a little inspiration here. May have to work on some Warchant hoodies, especially now that it's actually pretty cold in Tallahassee. So it may be a good time.
It is.
Looks like another one for you, Michael, comes from Khalil Young. Thank you, Khalil. $10. Appreciate you, man. If you could compare Destyn Hill's skill set and style to a past Nole or player in general, who would it be? He reminds me of an athletic Travis Rudolph, says Khalil.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've looked at his tape and think anything of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison. I think when I look at Destyn Hill, though, the guy that he reminds me of, and this will probably get FSU fans excited, is Rashad Green. I mean, he does a lot of things that Rashad Green does. Gets great separation after the catch. That's what Rashad does. If you watch a lot of his future games, he runs routes. He's got great depth perception as far as his routes. Rashad did that very well. And so they're very similar when you watch what Destyn does with his routes and the way he pulls away from people. And that's the thing with Rashad. Everyone thought he was like not slow, but you didn't realize how fast Rashad Green was until you got him in one-on-one situations and he just pulled away from. It was very often that Rashad Green got caught. And this kid does some of those same things when you watch him. He doesn't look like he's moving as fast as he does, but he just pulls away from people like it's nothing. And so Rashad Green would be the guy that he reminds me the most of. Really good hands. That's what Destyn's one of his best qualities is just his hands. He catches everything, snatches the ball really well, doesn't let the ball get to his body too often. So that's kind of the guy that he reminds me of the most.
All right, very well. I was trying to think of somebody else, but I couldn't. So yeah, we'll go with Rashad Green. Although, man, that's weighty praise. That's very weighty praise. Let's keep it rolling here on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up button if you like what you're seeing thus far. We would appreciate it. Helps us spread the message, the gospel of the potential 9-3 Noles in 2021. William McMillan asked Michael about offensive lineman Zane Herring. Do we still have him?
Yes, he's still there. He had shoulder surgery. Obviously, Ira can tell you more about that. But he's a guy that coming in from Madison, he had shoulder problems anyway, so they knew they were trying to fight through it. He went through all the spring last year, very hard worker. He's a guy that I think will have a productive career, but he was coming in there where he had to get that fixed first. I think he's a guy that you can play at guard. I watched this kid like 6 or 7 times. Obviously, I'm at Madison a lot, so I think he's a guy that plays with a tenacious mentality that you'll hear more about him once because he's already in the conditioning stuff. So I think he does a lot of that stuff. Now it's just about inserting his way into some kind of depth chart and lineup, but he is definitely there. He's coming off shoulder surgery. Shout out to his dad, Zane Herring. I know if I didn't say anything to Sean, he might get mad at me, but really good player. I think he's going to develop well, but he's going to be one that takes a little time. I know he's listed offensive tackle, but I think he's probably more of a guard when you watch his game. So, yes, he's still there.
Yeah, and I think they like him. The challenge with guys when they're coming off of shoulders is building that strength to back up. And they have a lot of interior alignment. So I don't know that he's going to be a factor right away this season coming back from that surgery. But I definitely know they like him. He's a tough kid. Any kid that comes out of that Madison County program is tough. Hard-nosed, the kind of kid you want in your program. So I think the future is very bright for him. We just, having that surgery the first year, you don't hear much about him.
Yeah.
All right. Stephen Helgemo, he's at the party, but he had to leave early. But he's like, here's $50 anyways. He's going to listen tomorrow, he says. So that's cool. Yeah, you can always listen to this replay if you're joining us later. What have you?
Straight cash, homie.
It's available all the time, 24 hours right on our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, lower right corner, you can subscribe, hit the little bell, set your notifications for whenever you want to be alerted to when we drop new content. We got recruiting stuff. We do these shows. We do the podcast. Even I think we got a basketball analysis coming with Tom Lang of ESPN Tallahassee fame and Ira. I got to get on that, and I got to edit it. David
should be up tomorrow.
He's still waiting for me to hit him up about designing some swag. So we have a designer in the house to make some hoodies.
All right, Dave. I've already. It's funny. I've been on the side looking at some online things for hoodies. I'm already pricing them, so we're on it. So yeah, Dave, go ahead and do it. Let's get some design. Send it our way. Look, there's people wanting to buy it, so we're there. We're gonna go. We're gonna go it. I'm committing right now. We're getting some Warchant hoodies. So get that design to us, and we're gonna get on it. Limited supplies while supplies last.
Gene, listen.
And maybe if our staff's nice, I'll give it to them. It's like instead of the Jelly of the Month Club, they got a hoodie for the owner.
Yeah, here we go.
Let's go back to the phone lines. We got good old Mad AMCZ. We got Mark in Naples joining us on the program. Mark, how are you, man?
Wake up, boys.
Wake up.
What's up, Mark?
Yeah, we can wake up at 6 p.m. It's all good. It's all good. What's going on, Mark? How are you, man?
I'm doing great. This is like we already had the Wake Up Warchant live earlier this week, and now we have this star-studded cast on Thursday night. This is like a Christmas present, belated.
Yeah.
Too kind, Mark.
Well, Corey's not here, so it's always better when
That's why he's saying star-studded.
Okay.
And Mark, we appreciate the tip earlier, man, as
Probably
always. Thank you so much, by the way. Just want to let you know that.
Thanks, man.
Yep, appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's listen. This is a great source of content and entertainment and everything, and I'm happy to do it, and I just can't thank you enough. So I don't know. I'm kind of like just going a little bit big picture. There's been a lot of transfer portal talk and everything lately, and Mike Norvell has done a great job there. But like what kind of irritated me this week after watching the national championship game is, people on the tribal council and including myself. I was wondering, like, the comment was, well, they're all in on football. Alabama's all in on football. Clemson's all in on football. Do you think that that Florida State's all in on football? I do. Is it more of a stability issue, and just we've had a bunch of different coaches in a few years where it just has to kind of stabilize and recruit, and the brand takes care of itself? Or what does it look like to you all for Florida State to be more in on football? I mean, it's just a question that I kind of have in my mind. Like, are there changes that need to be made to get to that next level, or is it just kind of winning and recruiting and kind of getting through this kind of this rough phase that will because when Jimbo came in 10 years ago, not many changes were made in facilities or whatever, but he just recruited his butt off, and 3 years later win a national championship. So I'm just interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, Mark, I will say a lot of changes were made in facilities. I mean, the IPF for one, coaches' offices, locker room. I mean, there was a lot of stuff when Jimbo came in that was boom. It was like every year something new came out. So there was some commitment. Maybe Iron going deeper on this, but I will say I think the prior athletic director at Florida State, maybe football was not the priority. We saw that, a lot of stuff behind the scenes and a lot of his actions. But I will say I think the shift is more understanding. We had a chance to meet with Michael Alford, the new director of the Boosters, and who knows, someday maybe the new director of athletics. There's obviously, they understand that football drives everything at Florida State, and you can be a fan of softball or soccer, but those programs are ultimately dependent on football generating the revenue and helping them succeed. So I think now the focus is totally on football, and not totally, but I mean the emphasis is on football within athletics, and I'm sure Ira can probably add a little bit to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the narrative is from like the ESPN story that there was a lot of that was people from Jimbo's standpoint putting that out there, which some people already felt that way. But Florida State has spent on football just like any of the powers have. It's not like Clemson is spending way more on football than Florida State is. I think what happened, the biggest problem, and I think the root of the problems, in my opinion, with Jimbo, where things really bubbled over, was when he decided to stay in 2016. I guess it was after the around the time of the Orange Bowl against Michigan. He made the big stand about, we're going to make a commitment to athletics. I'm staying, but they've President Thrasher and everybody's told me they're making a commitment to football. Well, then the thing that they went after was that the renovations that Gene mentioned. They did the coaches' offices. They did the locker rooms. They spent, I don't know, $5-6 million. I can't remember the price tag to do a lot of things. The players' lounge. And a year later, when Clemson unveiled their football facility, then Jimbo came back and wanted a new football facility. Well, that was that put FSU's boosters in the athletics department in a tough situation, because you just renovated the coaches' offices and all that, and now you want to turn around, scrap all that, and then build another facility. And they never said we're not going to do it. They just said it's going to take us some time. We can't write a check today to make it happen. And that's kind of where things really boiled over. But yeah, and I mean, Florida State has spent, if you look at coaches' salaries, I did a story the other day. I think they're still in the top 15 in terms of assistant coaches' salaries in the country in all of college football. I mean, that's, Florida State, that's not bad. I mean, top 15 in the country for spending for assistant coaches' salaries is not bad. Mike Norvell makes less than a lot of head coaches, but that was because they went after a guy that they identified as a guy but he couldn't demand top dollar because he'd never been a head coach at a Power 5 school before. If he has success, they're going to pay him that much more. Now, I think Florida State's all in on football. The bigger question to me is, and Gene's written about this a lot and talked about this a lot, is what does all in the ACC mean versus what does all in mean in the SEC or the Big Ten? Because those schools, the Alabamas and really all those schools in the SEC and the Big Ten, if something doesn't change soon, those schools are going to be making how many more $1 million a year, Gene? I mean, 30, $40 million?
It's close for the SEC's new deal. It's probably in the 30 because, they're going to be making 60. So we're probably talking in the $30 million range, same in the Big Ten. So they're making basically double you just on the TV revenue.
And so as it's come so far, Florida State is doing what they're putting in a ton of money into football. And as I mentioned earlier, Michael Alford, they're pushing full speed ahead to do a football facility. That's going to happen. But the bigger concern is long-term. You could be all in if you're in the ACC, but that's still not anywhere near what all in for the SEC or the Big Ten means.
To his point, would anything look different to Mark's point? Would anything look differently if Florida State was all in? I mean, they put like a backstop off for the softball complex, like these other sports like aren't living high off the hog. Like they're just getting little kind of, minor amenities. So it doesn't feel like the money is going elsewhere. I don't know where we get this sort of belief that money is being siphoned away from the football team.
And that goes ultimately at the end of the day, there's Title IX. It's not like you can just say, let's take our athletic budget and put it all in football. You can't do that with Title IX. It's not that easy. But I think what happens is people look, obviously Clemson's the outlier. You look at them, obviously they've had elite success in football for a long time, even with the constraints of the ACC's financial situation. But what's odd is when you look at Clemson, look at the Directors' Cup. They're awful every single year. Florida State is elite, top 10 almost every single year. And I don't know, you can fudge the numbers a little bit with Title IX. It seems like when Clemson, obviously the focus is not on the other sports. The focus is on football. Now you can break down the numbers how you want, but it's obvious that program, who has a football-minded athletic director, obviously that's their primary focus. And I think, like I said, with the prior athletic director, he's a basketball guy. He was all out to help Olympic sports. That was his focus. So I think that there was, whether it's a mentality or financial, I think there was definitely, football wasn't. You could obviously read that story from ESPN and what we've written at warchant.com. Obviously, Jimbo Fisher had his battles with Stan Wilcox, that they did not see eye to eye. Jimbo had a hard time getting, and we're not talking about just facilities, we're talking about support staff. And he constantly had a battle just to get simple raises for nutritionists, for academic advisors, people like that. And that was part of the problem. I'm guessing at Clemson, they didn't have the same issue getting that kind of support. They have a huge support staff.
And the last thing I'd say about it, though, is so I do think a lot of it is hiring the right people and then rewarding them and retaining them. Clemson, Dabo wasn't making $9 million a year or whatever he's making now when he got hired. He got hired cheap. He was a receivers coach. But then once they realized, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, and then they surrounded him with high-priced coordinators, they go out and get a Brent Venables. And now they've got Tony Elliott, who's one of the top – he's being courted by NFL teams. They're rewarding those assistant coaches. Where Florida State, I think where you could argue where they blew it to some degree is not figuring out a way to make it work with Jimbo. Now, they would say that Jimbo is being unreasonable. And, I can make that case as well. But I think there was a cavalier attitude that, okay, Bobby Bowden won here. Jimbo won here. We'll hire somebody else and they'll win here. We'll hire Willie Taggart and he'll win here. What they've since found out is it's not that easy. And so I think that's probably the one mistake is they just assumed that Florida State would keep rolling no matter who was in that chair, and they were wrong. But the key is you got to find the right person and then reward them and keep them. I don't think it's just a matter of throwing money. A lot of schools throw money at it. Tennessee throws money at it. A lot of schools throw
Texas.
money at it and don't have success. Michigan. So
let me add one other thing about when people ask about the confusing thing on the whole Title IX thing. The one way I think Clemson gets around it, it's one thing we've tried to do it is very hard to track support staff. I mean, to say who's support staff for football, who isn't, how much they're getting paid. One thing that's consistent, Clemson is up in the top 2 or 3 almost every time when you look at total support staff, and you can blend those guys into athletics. So they're not necessarily counted against football. So I think that's one way where they kind of fudge the numbers in there. And Clemson has a lot more dedication to support staff than I think Florida State has. Now, we'll see that may change here going forward, but I think that is one way where you can kind of get around that Title IX and the so-called emphasis on football versus other sports.
All right, Mark, that was a good question. Good discussion, man.
Yeah. I'm pumped about Norvell. I think Alford with the boosters is going to be solid. I just kind of want to hear your thoughts on what it looks like for Florida State to be quote unquote all in on football. And I think we're doing the best we can. Listen, this roster is going to be the root of the matter. Is this roster is going to be pretty different looking come spring ball, and that's where you got to start. Everything else will take care of itself.
That's right. Appreciate the call, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, man.
All right, go Noles. Thanks, guys.
That's right. Matt AMCZ from the Warchant.com Tribal Council. Terry, if you're listening to us, cut everybody off on the phone lines. We got 2 people waiting in the queue. Let's go ahead and let's grab James in Pensacola. Is this James B in Pensacola, or is this just a regular James in Pensacola?
This is James B.
It's this guy, everybody. Let's go. 150 American dollars. What's going on, James? What's going on, James? Welcome to the program, bud. We appreciate you, man. Corey does too. He's not here, but I'd FaceTime him with you, and he would say thank you as well, man. We appreciate you.
No problem. Love all you guys. Real quickly, just want to say, Ira, I've been listening to headlines now for 8 years this past November, and just huge fan of that show, huge fan of yours.
Thanks, man.
What you've done with Warchant is nothing short of miraculous. Mike, it has been awesome to watch your media savvy grow over the years, I guess. And Aslan, you just always have unique perspectives, and all you guys are just awesome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. You're awesome.
It's in the mail. It is in the mail. I can confirm.
We appreciate it. Yeah, we kind of talk about a lot of subjects, but we really appreciate you guys, the contributions, and even just the kind words of stuff you said about Ira. I think that means a lot to us. Obviously, every one of us work hard, and we all work together. There's team stuff that I help with, and there's recruiting stuff that Ira helps with, and Gene. And I think we all just chime in and build off each other. And so we appreciate that, all the kind words. It does mean a lot. We don't take it any lightly. So it's a big deal to us. Thanks, James.
Well, the team atmosphere that y'all have and the dynamic that all you guys have really comes through. And I think that is what people appreciate more than anything else. Real quickly, I guess my question is a little more philosophical in nature, as they usually are. We've been hearing a lot about how Norvell just does not have the relationships with high school coaches yet here in the state of Florida. My question is, how are those relationships built? Is it purely through recruiting those teams and those coaches athletes? I mean, do they take them out to dinner? I mean, how do you build a relationship with a high school coach, especially ones that have been in the state for a long, long time, when you're a new coach in the state of Florida, a new college coach?
Well, he was working on it. He invited everybody out to watch spring practice, but then COVID had some problems. But a lot of that is, bringing guys in, showing them around campus, showing them what you run. There's always been a good relationship with Madison County with the previous staff. So
yeah, James, kind of just to the way they do that is, first of all, yeah, it isn't about just to recruit at that school, but what Norvell's been doing, I think they'll do more of this once they open stuff up to let them do is Norvell has like a tour of different places in the state of Florida that he does where he invites high school coaches to come out and meet and greet with his staff. He did that several places. I think he did that in Palm Beach County, did it in Broward County, did some, I think, with Miami, and he's did it in Orlando and Central Florida. Obviously, it makes it tougher that the coaches can't be on the road to just spend time and get to know these coaches, but they have developed pretty good relationships already. I mean, their value from the high school coaches now is considerably different, I think, than it has been before, where they've got to know his process, his preparation, his organization, what he is looking for in his program, what things are important to him. So I think he's gotten to know a lot of these coaches around the state of Florida, not just South Florida, Central Florida, or even, Tampa area and Clearwater. But I think he's done a good job as far as letting these coaches get to know kind of him as a coach and what he stands for. And then also what his principles are and also what his staff's like. And so I think that's the main thing you'll see more of, James, is them doing more tour things where they'll say, hey, you can come meet and greet Coach Norvell and the staff. And I think you'll see a lot more of those things happening once the NCAA allows them to kind of go on the road and do some things. So I think that's kind of how they've developed those relationships. Because to be honest, I mean, Odell has relationships in the state of Florida. Odell's really good in Central Florida, Polk County. There's certain areas that Odell's good. Yeah. Ron Dugans is really good in Palm Beach County, Broward. He knows. So you have some coaches with ties. Adam Fuller has ties to the Southwest Florida, South Florida. So you do have guys on your staff that have Florida connections that can put them in the right position. Obviously, having a guy like Brandon Harris, who's now going to FIU for a job, that was beneficial, but I'm sure they'll get somebody that kind of can help them get their foots in the door. But I think the main thing is really just continuing to connect and so these high school coaches can get to know the staff. But I think the relationship in general for the state of Florida is certainly improved a lot.
One more thing I would add real quick, James, is that just like in any field, you earn a reputation by the way you act. And, one of the things that we were hearing towards the end of Willie Taggart's time was that a lot of high school coaches were not impressed by how just the organization. When coaches when a college coach comes to a high school campus, they need to know exactly who they're coming to see. They need to be on time. They need to have a plan of what they're doing. And then that, I think, gives the impression to the high school coach, okay, that's a program that knows what they're doing. They're focused. They're detail oriented. They've got all their ducks in a row. I'm going to feel more comfortable sending a kid to that school, to that team. It just reflects in how everything you do. Again, there were too many instances where high school coaches were not getting that feeling with the former staff. So as time goes, right now it's not really applicable because they're not getting out on the road as much. But I think if you carry yourself in a professional way and build those relationships, I think that is, as much as anything, just gives you a tangible results over time.
Yeah, and that's the point to the organization. You have to have a plan for what you're doing. I think high school coaches see that with Norvell. You see that with, everything he does, there's a backup plan to it. We've seen that in the transfer portal. Maybe some guys didn't fall his way the first ones he go after, but he's always has a plan for everything they do. And then the organization this year, even with all these things that are going on with COVID, they were still in control. They also, I would also point out the way Norvell's reacted to situations they had to go through, the stuff with Marvin Wilson, the way he handled that stuff. I think that says a lot to high school coaches. Like, hey, I can feel comfortable sending my kid there because it isn't about him. It's about the program and it's about the kid. And you can tell he puts the kids first before he does anything. And that really stands out to high school coaches. I know a lot of high school coaches were very impressed just the way he's handled different little things that have been problems this year with FSU. So I think that's a big thing. I think organization preparation is big, but also having a coach that understands the principles of not putting things about him and putting things about where they should be. And I think that's what Norvell's done. And I think that's why you see kind of a difference. Now, the bottom line is when they start winning, kids are going to want to, coaches are going to send their kids there. I mean, that's really the bottom line, what you get to. So I think the organization is there, the excitement's there, and now it's about winning.
Good question, James. You get it answered?
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic information. Exactly what I was looking for. Keep up the great work, guys. Anybody listening to this and you're a Seminole fan, you want to subscribe to Warchant. I promise you. You will. It's the best site out there for Florida State sports in general, but definitely for football. And you guys keep up the great work and have a great night.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
James.
Thank you, James.
You're awesome, man. You are awesome. All right, we've gone past the happy hour. We're being kicked out, but we've had Stephen Milton hanging on the queue for 30 minutes, so we'll grab him. He'll be the last caller. Real quick though, James, I let you off the phone before I fired it off, but we know that you're part of the Horn Gang. So if I can actually pull this up, I can't pull up. I can't. There we go.
There we go.
There you go. Steve, what's going on? You want to talk about quarter or linebackers? It sounds like, right?
Well, I just want to ask a question. I joined in late. You may have already touched on it. But,
go for it.
I don't see anything about us getting a linebacker out of the portal. Are there none available? Because to me, that was the poorest position of need after this year.
Good question, Michael. What do you know about the linebacker position in the portal?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was a position you want an experienced guy, but I mean, when you look at it, I won't get into the season, but I mean, there's nucleus around there. There wasn't a guy that just jumped out to him. I think Justin Rice was one kid that was from Arkansas State, but there wasn't a lot of guys that just leaped out to him. Again, too, it goes back to what we pointed out for the portal. It's like, it isn't just about skill set. It's about, does this guy fit into what our schemes are, or what we want to do? Is this guy going to fit with the group that we have? Is this guy going to accomplish what we want? Or are you happy with, the growing development of Emmett Rice, the growing development of guys like Steven Dix, Amari Gaynor, these guys that have improved when you watch their games? Yeah, they could use an experienced guy. I just think they only really needed one guy if they were going to take one. And I just don't think that guy was there for them to just jump all on board for right now as far as at the linebacker position. But, that's kind of my thoughts on the linebacker position.
Yeah, I would just add to it. I think that, I agree with you. The linebackers did not play well. I think we could all agree on that. But I think if they must be – the fact that they didn't make that a big priority makes me believe that they think Steven Dix, Amari Gaynor, DJ Lundy, those guys are going to be a nucleus that they can grow with and build with. And, you play so much nickel where you got 5 defensive backs on the field. So, I just feel like that position, they probably felt like the other positions were a bigger priority and they like that young talent. But, it's a little bit of a gamble because, like you said, the play has not been there. We know they love Steven Dix. And obviously, Amari Gaynor's a really talented player. And they like Lundy. But, now it's going to be, if those guys don't produce in the fall, then it's going to look like they gambled and missed.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly it seems like they're all in with those young linebackers.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add is you get things fixed around your trenches, you get things fixed around your back end, which seems to be a bigger issue. That issue in the middle and the linebacker is not as big if those guys are playing well. I think that's the kind of the mindset they had, was they looked at, okay, we have some young guys there at the linebacker, but if we fix our outside, we're our edge rushers, and we fix our trenches and we fix our secondary, we feel pretty good that we can grow these guys at linebacker, and it won't be exploited as much as it was this year because you had bad cornerback play, you had bad safety play, wasn't getting enough pressure up front. You certainly weren't getting enough pressure on the edges. So if you fix those things around the linebacker position, it's not as highlighted as much, in my opinion.
Well, that's a good question.
Well said, gentlemen. All right, Steve. Is that good for you?
That's good, guys. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Let's wrap it up on the phone lines. Appreciate everybody who called in. Much obliged.
We are sorry, but the show has ended.
Yeah, there we go.
Goodbye.
Well, real quick, I mean, I don't want to. I mean,
yes, got to remember Ray. There's
the
a
horn
pillar
game,
right there.
The horn game comes in pairs, man. When it rains, it pours. Let's go, man. Ray Pereira, man. If we get hoodies, Ira should say Obi-Wan. That's right.
All right. We got personalized hoodies for everybody on the staff.
Thanks, Ray.
There you go. You're the man, Ray. We appreciate it. We got a bunch of other Ed Lemix. Ed coming in late. I mean, I'm a little late, but here you go. Ed, it's not like you don't have to do. We appreciate you though, man. Ed's good dude. Ed's better half. Courtney's the one that usually pokes and prods him. So if Courtney was behind this one, we appreciate her too. Ed, we appreciate you, man. Thank you. I think maybe somebody else is just. I'm overwhelmed over here. I think we might have a question on this one.
Redbeard.
Let's go, Redbeard. What's going on, man? You get a little bit of this, and we'll give you a little bit of that.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Gene, do the additions made in the portal getting you excited about potentially covering more wins in the post-game shows this year? Go Noles. The beard is looking good. That's
yes,
right.
it would be. You know, anybody who tuned in, thank you, Redbeard. Anybody who tuned into that North Carolina post-game show, myself and Tom Lang can say, we had such a fun. I got hammered. I was giving out free subscriptions. We were having a great time. So, yeah, man, more of that in 2021 would be fantastic. Again, I just have this vision of a packed oak. It was such a rough 2020. And be able to get, hopefully, the vaccines kick in. Everybody's all healthy by the summer, and we're able to get back to normal in the fall. I'm just looking forward to that. Those falls, everybody out there at games, tailgating, all the good stuff that goes with college football. I just can't wait for a return to that. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. And, yeah, some wins would be nice too, Redbeard. I'm down with that. Like I said, man, I'm stoked for that Notre Dame game. That post game is going to be epic, myself and Tom Lang, and I just can't wait.
Do it live somewhere. Just live like 1 a.m., like in the parking lot of.
Hey, we'll do it. We'll go all night if we have to.
I would like staying up late, so I mean he's good with that.
Good. Let's make it happen.
All right, we appreciate you, Redbeard, as well as Ray coming in before the horn. What's going on over Warchant.com in the next day or so, Ira?
Like I said, man, we're gonna have the big breakdown of the top 25 pick. I just think that's funny. It's incredible. Remember all the years where Florida State would be in the top 10 or top 15 preseason? Yeah. We'd all be like, how are they in the preseason top 15? Like, did people not see them last year? And now it seems like it's been such a long time. It's only been 4 years, but it feels like it's been such a long time that Florida State, somebody has them in the top 25. So we'll have something on that. Corey's doing another transfer story. I feel like we've become warchanttransfer.com because he's doing a story about, kind of looking at what they lost in the portal with what's coming into the portal. We'll have basketball. And then tomorrow on Friday, people really need to – I know Friday sometimes people are getting ready for the weekend. They don't necessarily log on as much on Fridays, but we're going to have Mackenzie Milton and Jermaine Johnson,
yes.
the two big-name transfers, are going to be speaking to the media on Friday. So we'll have complete coverage of that. Aslan will have the videos up, our first chance to speak to them since they've arrived. So that's going to be exciting going into the weekend with basketball against North Carolina on Saturday. So plenty of fun activity over at warchant.com.
And don't forget basketball, Ira. You and Tom got a breakdown coming. I mean, what about that?
That's right.
We never mentioned the whole show, the 105-point beatdown of the Puppies, man. That was something. That was impressive the other night. So, yeah, I know you and Tom are going to have a lot for our basketball fans, a big breakdown of that and a preview of North Carolina coming up.
Yeah, guys, and also, guys, just to chime in on my part, I'm working on a 2022 hot board. I'm already jumping on that. Working on the offense, so we're going to get to the defense. The one thing I noticed, I mean, not to get people jacked up, but it's a massive difference from what I'm seeing from last year. There's a lot of 3 stars and low 4 stars. I think this year there's going to be high 4 stars, even sprinkled in some 5 stars. They already got a 5-star in Travis Hunter.
5-star, what's that?
Yeah, so I just I sense a difference as far as the ranking guys that they're going after, and so I will have a full breakdown on that. We'll put that up whenever we get this wrapped up as far as offense of the hot boards, because they usually take some time. It's a very extensive thing, but I think I'll have it done hopefully by the weekend, but we'll see, and then we'll kind of go from there. But that's something to look forward to is 2022 hot board.
There we go. All right, on your way out, everybody, if you could hit the thumbs up, but we certainly would appreciate it, and we do appreciate Redbeard Ed Lemix, Ray, James B, Steven Helgemo, William McMillan, Khalil Young, Shane Kirkley, Hector Cartagena, Mark Adamchek, and 7 Toms for the tips. It's impressive, man. It's awesome.
Very appreciated.
Can't say it.
And Aslan, we hit over 100 on the likes, and I shouldn't say this because I'm sure a troll will get us. I've never seen this where we've got a 0 thumbs down.
Oh.
So we're perfect right now. Now a troll's going to hit us on the way out just to do that. But I mean, we're like 109 to 0. That's a pretty good ratio.
It's the 9th inning. We got 2 outs. I'm throwing a perfect game.
We haven't hit that end broadcast before somebody trolls us.
Stop it now. Stop it now.
Gene's trying to jinx Janikowski kicking the field goal to win the game. It's like Gene's trying to jinx it.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Stay connected to warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo codes WARCHANT30. Say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.